Hey people, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist. Was fun last night doing the live stream for you guys. I ended up talking a lot about current events, cultural aspect of the woke madness, but I forgot to go through the economic stuff that I want to talk about. Let's do that now. Prospect of avoiding recession fading. This is news from the last couple days. It's all over the place. The Gazette, the Harvard Gazette, investing.com. Banking crisis is how it starts, recession is how it ends. So these last few days, the articles mostly revolve around this, the banking crisis, the financial crisis leading to a recession. Why is that? Well, it doesn't take a genius to put these two together. Banking crisis causes recession. Of course it does. An obvious consequence of a banking crisis is a tightening of lending standards, giving the lifeblood of the economy is credit, both consumer and business. The tightening of lending standards reduces the economy flow. Not surprisingly, when banks tighten lending standards on loans to small, medium, and large firms, liquidity constrictions ultimately result in a recession drag. Many businesses rely on lines of credit or other facilities to bridge the gap between manufacturing a product or service and collecting revenue. So, less money around, yeah, recession. Well, the more difficult it is to lend money, the more likely it is that the economy will slow down. Recessions cause repricing risk. As noted, the bullish expectation is that when the Fed makes a policy pivot, such will end the bear market. While that expectation is not wrong, it may not occur as quickly as the bulls expect. When the Fed historically cut interest rates, such is not the end of equity bear markets, but rather the beginning. So there's really no soft landing in this scenario. So you fight inflation, but you slow down the economy, and at the end of the day, like we talked in the last video regarding the economic crisis, the issue becomes a matter of trust. It's not about crunching numbers. It's about, we don't have faith in you anymore. And it's one thing is, the guy living next door hasn't got any faith in a bank anymore and takes out his money. And it's something else when it happens to larger accounts, when it happens to entire, segments of investors saying, yeah, we'll go looking for a safe haven right now, just in case. We like you guys, it's all cool, but just in case, I'll rearrange my portfolios so as to weather the storm, just in case. And that is just, how this goes. You have more people being more cautious, and money becoming harder to come by, and lending standards becoming more tight, and that's how you end up in a recession, right? Well, this is something that will affect people, and the good people from BBC have said, what is a recession and how could it affect me? Well, let's see what they say. I like these ones because they always have kind of like a positive swing of things, like it's not going to be as terrible. Is the UK in a recession? Of course not. How could that be possible? It is just shrinking its economy, but it's not as much or as bad as you think. Anyway, UK is still below pre-pandemic levels. Yeah, UK is particularly bad. It's not doing very well. They probably are more exposed, a more vulnerable position in the global scenery that we have, in which you have. This is again stuff that I've talked about before in the channel. You want to be big fish in the pond, right? If you are the European Union, if you are United States, if you're China, you're one of these. Anyone that's on its own, it's kind of screwed. You don't have the leverage. You don't have the mass, the gravitational pull, so as to get things your way. How would a recession affect me? And yeah, this is probably one of the things you want to look into. Some people might lose their jobs, and unemployment could rise. Graduate and schools leavers could find it harder to get their first job. Others may find it harder to be promoted or to get big enough pay rises to keep pace with price increases, also called inflation. It's always interesting to notice how they try to avoid certain words. Nothing causes more fear in a struggling economy than the word inflation, because For those of us that know, and I do know what I'm talking about because I literally wrote the book on surviving the economic collapse. Yes, guys, over 1,100 reviews on Amazon. So much appreciation and thanks for you guys. But you have the link there below if you haven't got it already. This is a book you want to get, and street survival skills, the practical aspect. What you learn when you go through this is that the word that they're not using there is called inflation. And inflation, for those of you that haven't gone through it, means poverty. Poverty means misery, hunger, crime, tougher life in general all around. And that's where we decant and end up in this survival scenario where we talk about having guns and ways of defending yourself and ways of getting by when money has little or no value. How bad it can get, who knows? What you know for a fact is that pretty much all countries are going through tough times. UK is definitely one of the worse off if you look at some of the more developed nations, but no one is in a good spot these days, and we don't know how this will continue. We don't know how bad it will get. We know that it's gone past that point. There's just no return from this because the interest rate hikes, inflation, you have to choose your poison, but you're gonna be drinking that poison. There's no way of not having to pay for the party that was the transfer of wealth from the entire globe to the richest elite in the planet. All of that has to be paid by you and me, not them. They're the ones getting rich, and that's how this goes. Folks, it's gonna be all for now. See you in our next video. Take care.